Now, I'm going to leave aside for a moment whether it's right or wrong to get vaccinated. That's a subject for you personally and to consult with your health professionals. But it's important to note the Prime Minister said it's meant to be voluntary, but the behaviour of state premiers like Premier Gladys Berejiklian indicates that it's not necessarily going to be voluntary from a state point of view because your freedoms are going to be dependent on whether you're vaccinated or not. We've been covering the latest with the pandemic and what's happening in New South Wales, for instance, with regional New South Wales still locked down. And Premier Gladys Berejiklian has indicated that a freedom will be restored to some people in New South Wales if they have been fully vaccinated with their 2 doses of the AstraZeneca or the Pfizer vaccine. Now, how on earth are the police in New South Wales and other authorities going to determine that someone has been fully vaccinated? Well, clearly they're going to rely on your Medicare record. Medicare have been updating this record online and on your phone app so that you can show, in effect, a green pass, as it's being called in Europe, to show, yes, I've been vaccinated, and then whatever freedom it is that you're enjoying, thanks to the Premier and saying you're allowed to, maybe it's allowed to circulate in the community more than others, you have to show this certification. Now, Flow News 24's news desk has been chasing this with state premiers. In fact, Premier Berejiklian didn't answer our questions about this topic previously. Other premiers have said, we're going to deflect this issue to National Cabinet to be decided on when it will be appropriate to rely on a health record or a green pass on your Medicare certification as a basis for you to participate in community life in ways that others can't. Now, here on the Flow Morning Show with Wayne Phillips last week, Wayne held up the letter from the Prime Minister that he sent to our news desk saying that vaccination will remain voluntary. Now, I'm going to leave aside for a moment whether it's right or wrong to get vaccinated. That's a subject for you personally and to consult with your health professionals. But it's important to note the Prime Minister said it's meant to be voluntary, but the behaviour of state premiers like Premier Gladys Berejiklian indicates that it's not necessarily going to be voluntary from a state point of view because your freedoms are going to be dependent on whether you're vaccinated or not. Now, previously, the Prime Minister has indicated, it's not going to breach national discrimination laws for you to be refused certain services or access to certain places because you have been vaccinated or not. Well, the problem with that is, as Labor Senator Malarndirri McCarthy from the Northern Territory, representing the Labor Party, has indicated, for instance, there are Indigenous people for whom it's not safe for them to actually get vaccinated. It is discriminating, I think, against them on their health grounds if they are not vaccinated and then they can't access certain community facilities or services. And indeed, there's a host of people on health grounds who cannot be vaccinated. So I would hope that whatever Premier Berejiklian is implementing in her state, she is also saying, well, you will also have a right to say, well, I'm allowed to circulate because I actually can't be vaccinated. Indeed, there are people who can't wear face masks, for instance, in supermarkets or other public places, say because they've got asthma. So there has to be some clear clarification. And I know that some people are going overboard. There's some protests and some ugly behaviour in capital cities that happened on the weekend, protesting against lockdowns. Some people are referencing yellow stars, marking which people are good citizens and bad citizens, whether they've been vaccinated or not. It's not helpful commentary on that front, I think, from people to be saying, well, we're looking and sounding like Nazi Germany, the way that the governments are restricting people's freedoms. Naturally, there is health advice that is being provided to governments about what is going to keep people safe in the community, and we keep prosecuting on Flow News 24 just the accuracy and the transparency of that advice and whether premiers are actually relying on that advice or on some other political imperatives such as saving their own bacon because they don't want a pandemic running amok in their state when, for instance, in the Riverina of New South Wales where we broadcast, there haven't been any community cases within hundreds of kilometres of that district and none in regional Victoria across the border until you get to the one case now in Shepparton. So, as I keep saying on the morning show, we need royal commissions and I think they should be starting now. As Tony Abbott has said, federally there should be a royal commission. There should be some at state levels as well, starting now to investigate premiers and the Prime Minister and their handling of the pandemic and this national cabinet that they all seem to be deflecting to, but it has none of the cabinet secrecy privacy protections that federal or state cabinets have. We need to get to the bottom of exactly what's been done and whether it's been properly done, certainly before there are elections federally or at the state level, so that these premiers can be accountable for their decisions.